What is going on? I touched my face, my fear slowly growing. I should probably explain myself. My name was Lila Ross, and I woke up in the body of a character from a show called Miraculous Ladybug. It's a show that was made for kids and teens, but unfortunately I am considered a young adult as I am 16. But that's not important right now. I have woken up as a Miraculous Ladybug character, and the character is Lila Rossi. I haven't seen all the seasons, and if I am honest, I only barely remember them from the clips I've glimpsed on YouTube, Netflix, and Twitter. From the leaked spoilers, I feel like I know pretty much all I needed to know about the shows and the concepts. But then again, it's been a long time since I've sat down and watched a full episode. I looked in the mirror at my new body, the tan skin and hip-length auburn hair. I tried pulling at my hair, nervous, and to my relief, it didn't come off. The shit they were pulling out of their ass during season 5, I mumbled to myself. The writers for the show were dismal, but I wasn't disappointed. I just knew I should have put my faith into the writers who actually planned the story out, especially that one writer. My new straight fringe stayed intact despite my second round of tugging. Thank God. I shook my head and dragged my attention away from the mirror, gazing around my new room. Outside the window, I could see blue sky and the Eiffel Tower in the distance. Lila, are you awake? You don't want to miss your first day of school, a female voice suddenly bellowed outside the door. First day? So this was Lila's debut episode. The one called Valpina? Yes, Valpina. Lila. The door suddenly opened and a woman with brown eyes and short cropped hair poked her head in. You're up already. Why didn't you say anything? I'm going to work now, have a good first day, and try to make some friends. I may not be home tonight, so I left the card on the table for you to order dinner. Bye-bye, Lila. Be good. The woman left without waiting for my response, leaving me gaping at the door. I recognized her, Mrs. Rossi, Lila's mother, and this was how she treated her daughter? She was so flippant and dismissive. Anger built up inside me, but I took a deep breath and forced myself to calm down. I don't need to be akumatized, yet. I went over to the massive double-door closet and pulled it open, scanning down the shelves and racks. Lila has an ample selection of clothes. It took me a few minutes of pondering to finally decide on an outfit that both Lila and I would like to wear. An orange dress paired with a white belt and a thin black jacket. There was also a comfortable and trendy pair of white sneakers with puffy tongues. I tugged on a pair of black leggings for socks and sat down at the vanity to style my hair. I wanted to look cute. Lila's hairstyle in the show wasn't the best, as I always thought the ties around the bangs made it look like sausage links. Instead, I want to appear casual, yet glamorous. I pulled my hair into a high ponytail and used a hot curler to curl the edges and my fringe. Now, my hair cascaded down my back in waves, and my fringe artistically framed my face. I stared at myself in awe. I felt pretty for the first time in a long time. Lila's body mixed with my own style, I felt and looked good. I picked up Lila's book bag and was adjusting it on my hip when something fell out. A keychain of a father and baby fox. It was a gift that Lila's father had made for her. How did I know that? I picked up the keychain and held it in my hand for a moment. From what I could remember, there was never any mention of Lila's father in the canon show. Yet, as I stood there with this trinket in my hand, I was overcome with nostalgia and melancholy. Lila's emotions? They were so powerful. Where was Lila's father now? Why wasn't he with his daughter when she's lonely in a new country? Lila's phone was on her bedside table, and I picked it up, thankful that it doesn't have a password. I'll have to set a new one. I scrolled through her social media, her photo gallery, and her list of contacts. There was almost nothing there. No photos of her family, certainly no messages shared with friends. I realized that Lila only seemed to have her sad excuse of a mother in her life. Mrs. Rossi's number was the only one listed in the contacts. How sad. It seemed that Lila and I had something in common. It's small but enough to make me sympathize with the villain. I suddenly understood why Lila felt the need to lie and tell such outrageous stories. In her mind, it was the only way to get attention and love from people who otherwise wouldn't give her the time of day. Lila wanted friends and support, but she was going completely the wrong way about it. If Lila had redeemed herself, she would get all the friends and attention she wanted. After all, what's not to like about her? She's pretty, sociable, and charismatic. If I continued down the same path Lila had in Valpina, eventually the class would learn of her lies and learn to detest her, and they would treat her like she doesn't exist. Lila would be alone with nothing but her hatred for Marinette, which would grow and grow until it consumes her. I liked the idea of Lila's character. She had so much potential to be a truly great villain, if only she had more screen time and her personality was better explored. There's nothing wrong with a bit of mystery, but not so much that we don't know anything about the main antagonist 5 seasons into the show. I hummed to myself. I'm not Lila Rossi. My name is Lila Ross and I'm just in her body. Our name may sound similar, but they're not twins and I am my own person. My own character. And I'll be damned if I get fucked over by this show and its shitty writing. I need to change things up, create my own destiny. But first, I need to get to school on time. I scanned the clock and raced out into the living room. It's much brighter and more rustic than Lila's room, but I didn't have the time to stop and inspect every decor detail. My stomach grumbled. No time for breakfast either. I snatched an apple from the fruit basket on the kitchen bench and paused when I saw a green plastic card near it. An American Express International Currency card. Gingerly, I picked it up and inspected the front and back. It belonged to me, my name written in block letters across the signature strip. I don't know how much money was in it, but at least I have some kind of financial freedom. I pocketed the card and left the house. College Françoise Dupont looked exactly how it does in the show, with a massive sandstone facade and a circular glass window at the crest. A familiar silver sedan was pulling up to the curb as I walked up. Adrian's car. The show's signature golden boy exited the car, moving up the stairs as I moved past him, trying not to be noticed. My number one goal was to not land on anyone's shit list today. Lila's downfall came from her need to be noticed, to be the center of attention. I must strive to remain invisible to everyone. I cannot be noticed by anyone, especially not by Adrian or Marinette. If I am a background character, allowed to do my own things without scrutiny, it'll free up my stress and time, giving me leeway to formulate a plan to take the butterfly miraculous from Gabriel Agresti. I could show this world how much of a threat I really am, but that hope would only come to fruition if I don't get in over my head. I reached the school doors, relieved to melt into the crowd of students lingering in the courtyard, when a voice called out. It's Adrian's voice. He's saying, hey. He seemed to be calling to me. Fuck. Desperately, I tried to disappear into the crowd, but a hand clamped down on my shoulder, stopping me in my tracks. Hey, Adrian said as I turned around with a false smile. Should I punch him? I should punch him, who just touches other people like that. You dropped this. Adrian held my wooden daddy and baby fox keychain in his hand. My eyes widened. Again? Am I not attaching it properly? I quickly snatched it out of his hand and Adrian recoiled, surprised by my aggression. Adrian watched me carefully as I inspected my beloved keychain, flipping it front and back to make sure there weren't any scratches. Satisfied with the results of my investigation, I sighed, holding my keychain to my chest before turning away from Adrian and walking off. He called out again. Goddamn it. Wait. Adrian followed me even as I ignored him. Hi. My name is Adrian Agresti. Are you new here? I don't remember seeing you around before. Adrian walked by my side, not losing any of his earnestness, even though I remained sullenly silent. Not much of a talker, he said sympathetically. I understand. I was a new student at the start of the school year too, when everyone already knew each other. I was really shy, but you'll fit in and make a lot of friends before you even know it. I stopped. Those words were almost exactly what Mrs. Rossi said to me earlier this morning. My anger was building up again, and I took another deep yet shaking breath to try and dispel it. It wasn't working. My anger was hitting its boiling point. What's your name again? I asked brusquely. Adrian looked concerned. Adrian Agresti. Right, I cut him off. Listen, Adrian. I know you mean well, and it's nice that you're trying to reach out. But I don't care. What? I stepped up to him. I do not care. I don't care. I yelled. The students around us looked at me in alarm, heads in the courtyard turning my way. Their expressions ranged from alarmed to confused to frightened. Good. I needed to be left alone. See me as the outcast. Do you realize that I haven't said anything to you? I furiously demanded of Adrian. His mouth opened and shut, trying to find words. No, because I want to be left alone and you keep bothering me just because I'm new. Fuck off with that. I don't want you to talk to me. Adrian's face fell. I didn't mean to bother you. If someone isn't talking back to you, I said, it means they're not interested. So you should leave them alone. Read the room, Adrian. I stalked off, walking towards my classroom. As I was thundering up the stairs, I heard a strangled, I'm sorry, thrown at my back, but I ignored it. Inside Madame Bastier's homeroom class, there were a few of my classmates lingering around their desks. Nino, Mylene, Ivan, Rose, Alex, Nathaniel, and Max. They all looked exactly like how they did in the cartoon, horrendous Y2K fashion and brightly colored hair. They all stared at me as I entered and climbed up the stairs, taking a seat at the empty table at the back of the classroom without a word. I pulled out a random book from my backpack, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and began reading. Whoa, dude. I heard Nino exclaim to the sound of someone else entering the classroom. Looking up, I saw Adrian's defeated face trudging in. Are you okay? Nino asked. Yeah, I'm fine. Adrian sat down next to Nino as I turned back to my book. It's not what I'll choose to read, but I could see why Lila was attracted to it. Rebecca was an intense tale of wealth, jealousy, and gothic romance. Curiosity was rising up in chatter around me. Some of the students wanted to know what was up with Adrian. Why was this characteristic sunny and cheerful boy so glum on this ordinary morning? But most of my new classmates wondered who I was. I heard mutters about my long hair and reticent attitude passed around. Rose complimented my dress to Mylene. She said she liked the cut. The classroom slowly filled up as the bell rang and Madame Bastier walked in last, holding a clipboard. Good morning, she called out to a chorus of good morning, Madame Buster, in return. Let's see. Madame Bastier quickly scanned her eyes over the students, counting and matching face to name on her clipboard, making sure everyone was here. Her eyes lit up when she saw me at the back. Lila Rossi. I looked up from Rebecca. Here, madam. Welcome, she greeted warmly. I'm Madame Bastier and I will be your homeroom and history teacher for the rest of the year. I see you've already chosen your seat. It's wonderful to have a new student. Thank you for having me, I said. I sat back in my chair and placed a bookmark in my place in Rebecca. As I tucked my novel away, I felt eyes on me. I followed the unwelcome sensation down to Adrian at the first row. I raised my hand. Madame Bastier? Madame Bastier, who was starting to write up notes on the blackboard, looked up at me. Yes, Mademoiselle Rossi? I don't want to sound mean, I said. But could you please tell the boy with the blonde hair down there to stop looking at me, please? He's making me uncomfortable. Madame Bastier blinked, looking to Adrian, who flushed. Adrian, please don't stare at Lila. It's not very nice. Eyes to the front. Adrian nodded, cheeks red. Dude, Nino muttered to him. Are you sure you're okay? Adrian was just giving out hasty reassurances when the classroom door suddenly burst open. Here, Marinette exclaimed, huffing and puffing, her backpack slipping off one shoulder. I'm here. Marinette, Madame Bastier said, trying to sound stern but failing as a smile curled her lips. Well, better late than never. Come in, take your seat quickly, please. Marinette collapsed next to Alia, who nudged at her with a wink. The class passed too slowly for my liking. The lessons weren't challenging, but I wasn't interested in learning, taking a note or two only to make it appear as if I was paying attention, so Bastier doesn't find some petty reason to be concerned with me. For most of the class, I observed my classmates, picking up on their mannerisms and quirks. Rose was more focused on the bead bracelet she was secretly stringing under her desk than on the lecture. Jalika mumbled her answer every time she was asked a question. Nathaniel doodled in the margins of his notebook and Kim tried very hard to make it appear as if he wasn't dozing. Max and Alex passed notes back and forth when Madame Bustier looked the other way, and Chloe yawned and complained loudly through the lesson while Sabrina frantically took notes for both of them. My shoulders relaxed. Everything was as it should be. No one was acting out of character. I was in the main timeline of the miraculous world. There were no abnormalities or alternate universe shenanigans to deal with. I sighed, the last of my anxieties leaving me. I'm safe and secure in this predictable world. I know everything that is going to happen, that will happen. When the bell rang for lunch, my bag was already packed. I was the first out of the classroom, moving quickly past everyone while they struggled to organize their possessions. Lila, wait, a now familiar voice called out behind me. I pulled the door close after myself and headed toward the library. I'll be alone in here. I took out Rebecca and began reading again, but barely 5 minutes of peace passed before I heard two voices making their way closer and closer to the bookshelf I was hiding behind. Dude, Nino was saying. Come on, she's not worth it. But, Nino, you didn't see the look in her eyes. Adrian pleaded. The look that said she needed a friend? Nino said skeptically. From what I'm hearing, she just really wants to be left alone. But the sadness in them. Adrian said. She needs a friend, and I feel like I could be her friend if she just opens up a bit. Nino hissed at Adrian, and Adrian verbally cringed at the high rise of his voice. She walked into the class like she was ready to kill someone, Nino said. This girl has serious fuck-off vibes, bro. I think you're getting the wrong idea. I smiled. It seemed that my plan was working. At least someone was picking up on the messages I was sending out. You don't understand, Nino, Adrian continued firmly. She needs help. I should have punched him back then. Your funeral, man, Nino said. They walked past where I was sitting, but because they didn't bother to turn around, they didn't see me. They talked for a little longer, but it was about random topics I had no interest in. I tuned them out. I continued to read until the bell rang again, and I waited for about 2 minutes before standing up and dusting myself off. When the bell rang for the final time that day, the sun was lazy and golden in the afternoon sun. Adrian had been staring at me for the entirety of our final lesson, and I knew he was determined to talk to me no matter what. Too bad for him. My escape plan would be flawless. Or, it would have been if I wasn't so hasty about it. So eager to get down the stairs as quickly as I can, I skipped 2 steps and ended up landing on my ankle at a weird angle. I hissed, grabbing onto the railing and hopping as I lifted my foot up. A sharp pain spiked up my leg, but the longer I held my foot afloat, the more it faded. It's good. It's all good. I placed my foot down again and a small throb of agony flared up, but as I carefully applied more weight onto my ankle, it dissipated slowly. I tried to walk and nearly fell. Come on, faster. Lila? Are you okay? I tried to run and was foiled by my own body. Lila, Adrian came up to me. You're hurt. I'm fine, I said. Just leave me alone. I made it to the door with Adrian right beside me. He's frowning. Let me take you to the nurse's office at least, he said. You need help. Fine, I relented. It'll be significantly harder to launch my plan if I can't walk. I leaned on Adrian as he guided me to the nurse's office, a small room that smelt of paper and medicine. It's not sprained, the nurse reassured me, inspecting my ankle while I sat on a cot. Adrian hovered protectively over us. You just strained the ligament a little. Do you have someone to take you home? I could, Adrian offered immediately. No, I said. My mother can pick me up. Oh! Adrian's face fell. The nurse Sissy, gave me an ice pack to place on my ankle while she went into another room to get some documents filed about this injury. Adrian was still here, showing no intentions of leaving, and I had a sinking feeling he was planning to stay until Mrs. Rossi actually did come to pick me up. I thought desperately of a way to get out of here without his nosy supervision. Adrian? I asked in a sweet, innocent voice. Adrian's eyes lit up hearing it. Yes, Lila, he asked eagerly. Could you go back to the class and ask Madame Bustier if she has my pen? That was a shit lie. Sure. What color is it? It's orange with a little black on it. Adrian nodded and left. I waited for a minute before getting up. My ankle still hurt, but the pain be damned. Opening the door, I checked to make sure the coast was clear before speed-walking out of the school. I managed to reach the Place de Vosges before I had to sit down on a bench, panting. My ankle was starting to feel better, and I leaned back and soaked in the golden sun. The sky was beautiful, a pure blue with wispy cotton clouds drifting leisurely across it. The calls of doves mixed with the sounds of cars driving down the street. Lila. God damn it. I got up and started running. Lila, wait. I could hear the pounding of Adrian's footsteps as he chased after me, and I was beginning to feel scared. What was with his obsession with me? Why can't he leave me alone? Turning around a corner, I found a giant trash can to duck behind. Lila. I sighed in relief as Adrian ran straight past me. I peered in the direction he disappeared off to and saw that he had vanished into the distance. Quickly, I got up and made a beeline for the nearest metro station. I purchased a standard fare ticket and couldn't stop tapping my feet until my subway finally pulled into the station. It was only when I sat down and the doors closed that I could feel my stress evaporating. Finally, I closed my eyes. I can relax. Flag, I can't believe it. Why would she do that? Adrian was upset when he went back to Madame Bastier's class and realized he couldn't find Lila's pen, but the feeling worsened 100-fold when he returned to the nurse's office and realized Lila was gone. He asked Nurse Sissy if she had seen where Lila went, but Nurse Sissy didn't know anything either. Lila had left without telling her. Worry intensifying that Lila was going to exacerbate her injury and get herself into a serious accident, Adrian went out looking for her. Thankfully, Lila hadn't gone far. She was resting on a bench at the Place de Vosges, looking peaceful. Relieved, Adrian ran up to her, calling her name, only to be shocked when she opened her eyes and immediately booked it. Adrian tried to follow her, but lost Lila after a couple of turns. Now, he was walking home by himself, fear for Lila curdling in his heart. Kid, Flag said, unimpressed. You were making her uncomfortable. When someone runs from you, you don't chase after them. But the look in her eyes, Flag, Adrian mourned. She was so lonely, and I can completely understand that. Okay, that's enough. Flag flew out of Adrian's inner pocket, straight to his face with such malicious intent. Adrian immediately panicked and dove into an alleyway. Flag, he yelled, walking backwards from the moody Kwame. What are you doing? You can't read the look in people's eyes, kid, Flag said. You communicate to them by listening to what they're saying. And that Lila girl wants nothing to do with you. Leave her alone. You're coming off as a stalker at this point. If she truly is lonely, she'll come to you when she's ready. You can't force her to open up. Adrian wasn't happy with Flag's advice. Sure, Lila was standoffish and aggressive, but Adrian knew that reclusive people can react to friendship in all sorts of unexpected ways. How would Lila know that Adrian was there for her if Adrian wasn't there for her? Adrian sighed. But Flag was right about one thing. Adrian can't force Lila to open up. Adrian had a feeling Lila's attitude was just her trying to protect herself. Adrian held open his jacket and Flag flew in, hiding himself. Adrian walked out of the alleyway, continuing his way home, wondering if Lila had gotten home okay. I rode the subway all the way to the other side of Paris. I exited the metro and chose a random direction to start walking in. I've never been to Paris before, even though I have seen it on Miraculous Ladybug and other shows. The city gleams from my new perspective. The neat cobblestone paths, hilly roads, red-fronted grocery stores and bookshops with their vintage sign-painted windows, imagery straight out of a picturesque storybook. I was so in awe that I didn't realize the collision that was imminent. Ow! I fell to the ground. Hey, a nasally voice snapped. Watch where you're fucking going. That tone. I looked up to see the queen of bitches herself, Chloe Bourgeois. Her whining grated on my ears. How dare you bump into me? Do you know who I am? I bit my lip. Keep your cool, keep your cool. I got off the ground, dusting myself off. No, I said. I don't know who you are, and I have somewhere to be. Goodbye. I tried to move past her, but she grabbed onto my arm in a pincer grip. I quickly pulled away, scowling. "How dare you," she shrieked. "I am Chloe Bourgeois. I am the mayor's daughter. How can you not know who I am?" "Your voice is so annoying," I yelled back, unable to hold it in. Chloe took a step back, taken back by my outburst. "I don't care if you're the mayor's daughter, you spoiled brat. You're annoying and no one fucking likes you. The only person who even tolerates you is your daddy and all those brain-dead idiots who think you're hot stuff, but newsflash, you're not. You're just some pathetic loser with nothing going for her." I jabbed my finger into Chloe's chest and she stumbled back at the force. I stepped forward. "The only good thing about you is that you're rich, and when that money goes and your daddy no longer has power, you'll be nothing. Nothing but a memory. So, I'm sorry I don't know who you are, but I don't care. I don't care enough to know, so, get off that high horse, sister." I shoved Chloe back and Chloe stared up at me in fear, blinking teary eyes. "I'll get you banned from Paris," she threatened, but her voice cracked midway her sentence and she ran away sobbing. "Your daddy doesn't have the power to do that, you brat," I yelled after her before taking a deep breath. "Chloe." I turned around to see a girl with a reddish-orange bob holding 2 ice cream cones in her hands. She looked around in confusion before noticing me. "Oh, hello. You're in our class, right?" she asked. "The new student? Mina? Dina? Something?" I stared at Sabrina Raincomprix for a moment before snatching 1 ice cream cone from her hand and ramming it straight into her nose. Salted caramel and French vanilla dropped in gobs down her chin while she blinked stupidly at me, gasping. "You're just as bad as Chloe," I hissed. "You enabler." I grabbed the second ice cream, cookie and cream and strawberry, and slammed it onto her head before walking away. Anger, embarrassment, and humiliation. This young girl had been made a fool of and her heart burns with the injustice. So perfect for my Akuma. Hawk Moth held out one hand, waiting until a pristine white insect landed before cupping both palms over the butterfly, imbuing it with poisonous purple energy. When he opened his hands, he released the newly born Akuma, its wings crackling with vigor, through the open hole in the lair's skylight. "Go, my little Akuma, and evilize her." Chloe was brimming with fury, just thinking about the dull and belligerent girl who had disrespected her so severely. How dare she talk to Chloe like that? How dare she abuse Chloe like that? She will pay for what she has done. Queen Revenge. Chloe stood stock still in the middle of the street, the telltale calm of Hawk Moth's insidious emotional magic settling over her. At once, it seemed as if a film had dropped over the eyes, coloring Paris and the people around her in a misty purple tint. "I am Hawk Moth. You have been unjustly humiliated by someone who is beneath you. I am giving you the power to destroy her with judgment of your own." "Grant me power, Hawk Moth." Chloe cackled as dark energy bubbled down over her body. "I'll make her life hell." My phone buzzed in my pocket and, startled, who would text me? I took it out. A viral video had appeared on multiple news sites. Chloe Bourgeois standing in the middle of the street suddenly laughed before Hawk Moth's signature magic boiled over her body. The hands of the person taking the video were shaky. The timestamp was 2 minutes ago. Fuck, I pissed her off. Well, better start running and hiding. I took off. Marinette and her girl squad were sitting at an outdoor table of a famous local bistro, gossiping over tea, sweet pastries, and fries, when they noticed Lila running in their direction. "Hey, isn't that the new girl?" Alia said. Lila? Lila, I think? "Hey, Lila." Alia yelled as Lila ran closer. "Want to sit down with us? We're in your class." "Nope, not today or ever," Lila yelled, running right past the table, not slowing down in the slightest. "I made someone mad." The girls looked at each other in confusion. "What is she talking about?" Alex asked. "Look," Rose screamed, pointing at the sky. Their heads whipped around. An Akuma was dangling at the skyline, dressed in a glamorous and horrendous mixture of ermine fur, scarlet velvet, and gold. A shiny crown studded with precious gems was propped on her head, and in one hand, she held a gold-plated pistol. Marinette squinted her eyes. "Chloe." Oh, look, akumatized Chloe sneered, her voice booming out as if through a loudspeaker. More losers ready for my judgment. Into the courthouse, you go. Chloe aimed the gun at them, and the girls were already scattering, leaving the table askew and chairs knocked over as she fired the first shot. Jalika, Rose, and Mylene weren't quite quick enough, however, and were struck by the aureate sparkles of the bullet. Immediately, they stopped moving, standing eerily still, the fear wiped off their faces. Go after that ugly girl with the orange dress and outdated shoes, Chloe commanded. Bring her to me for my judgment and revenge. Jalika, Rose, and Mylene bowed, before running in the direction Lila had gone off to. Marinette, hiding behind a building, watched the scene in aghast. Looks like Lila could use our help, Tiki, she exclaimed to her Kwame. Tiki nodded. Just say the word. Tiki, Marinette cried. Spots on. Adrien was sitting on his sofa, watching the TV, when his regular channel was interrupted by a news report of Paris' latest Akuma. Adrien sighed, turning the TV off. Flag, claws out. Hello, my lady. Chatnoir purred happily as he dropped down beside Ladybug on the rooftop. So glad to see you again. So, who got akumatized this time? Chloe Bourgeois, Ladybug said curtly. She's going after a new student in her class, Lila Rossi. Chatnoir's eyes went wide. Lila is in danger, he yelled, chasing after Chloe without a second thought. Chatnoir, wait. Ladybug called, but Chatnoir was long gone. The best hiding place Lila could find was inside a building. Well, inside the closet of a building. Tucked into a tiny unlit space with the musty scent of stored linen around her, she was catching her breath. As she was running here, she noticed how many citizens were already under Chloe's control, wandering around in a daze, looking for the ugly girl with an orange dress and outdated shoes that Chloe was talking about. Thank God Chloe doesn't have the brain cells to remember her name, or show everyone a picture. Queen Bitch would get someone else to do her dirty work for her. Lila looked around, pushing aside plastic tubs of stationery and heavy-duty cardboard boxes of aged files before finding a red metal bat that was shoved to the back of a shelf. Lila fished it out, giving it a test swing and marveling at the elegant strength of the weapon. Perfect. If she had to sit around, waiting for Adrien and Marinette to save her, she might as well have some fun in the process. Ladybug swung her yo-yo, fighting off the bewitched citizens while trying her best not to hurt them. She had managed to find Chatnoir, who had been hiding. Chat, Ladybug called, and Chatnoir turned to her. Look. Chatnoir was horrified to see two bewitched citizens dragging Lila out into the open, towards Queen Revenge, who was cackling triumphantly. Lila, no, he cried, racing forward. Chat, Ladybug called again. No, stop. We need to wait. Wait, Chatnoir exclaimed. Chloe has Lila in her grip. She's going to hurt her. I have a plan, Ladybug said, looking him in the eyes. Trust me. Chatnoir was unsure of what to do. Instinct screamed at him to jump in before something bad happened to Lila, but months of working with Ladybug told him she had a plan. Chatnoir didn't like it, but he stopped and watched as Lila was pulled before Chloe. Queen Revenge laughed at the sight before her, Lila captured and at her mercy, held in the unshakable grip of two of her minions. Finally, Queen Revenge drawled. It took some time to find you, but I can finally have my revenge. Queen Revenge chuckled again. Lila yawned. You, Queen Revenge gaped. Did you just yawn? Yeah, Lila said. So what? Deep in his lair, watching everything through Queen Revenge's eyes, Hawk Moth was flabbergasted too. The girl showed no fear. She was the first Hawk Moth had seen yawning in her situation. Queen Revenge, Hawk Moth commanded. Don't do anything yet. I want to see something. What? Queen Revenge demanded. But you promised. And my promise shall be fulfilled, Hawk Moth soothed. Wait until Ladybug and Chatnoir show up. Queen Revenge rolled her eyes. Fine, but only until they show up. Queen Revenge looked down at Lila, who appeared bored and was gazing listlessly at some object in the distance. We have to wait until the red bug and filthy cat shows up, Queen Revenge declared. In the meantime, I can think up of so many ways to destroy you. She laughed again, and, again, Lila showed no emotion. Queen Revenge was beginning to feel uneasy. Why was this girl so calm? Does she know something Queen Revenge doesn't? Show some fear. Queen Revenge snarled. Do you understand the position you're in? Oh, like this. Lila said sarcastically. Ooh, help me. Ladybug, chat noir. I'm so scared. A stupid brat thinks she can scare me. Oh, help, help. Lila laughed with such darkness and malevolence, it sent a bolt of fear through not only Queen Revenge, but Ladybug, Chat Noir, and the silent watching hawk moth. That's not funny, Queen Revenge said. Oh, but it is, Lila exclaimed. She sounded maniac. I was having so much fun when your brainwashed idiots came at me. I was hitting them with this bat I found, watching them crumble, and, oh, I was having a blast. Queen Revenge was shaking with fear. She shuddered. She wanted to get away from this girl. She was crazy. What's wrong, Chloe? Lila asked in a sugar-sweet voice. Fox got your tongue? You're pale all of a sudden. Are you scared? I'm not scared, Queen Revenge yelled. I'm not scared. Queen Revenge was trying to hold herself together, but her voice was trembling and her composure was breaking. Oh, Lila said sadly. She looked down and then chuckled, a chuckle filled with darkness and horror. And when Lila looked up at Queen Revenge, there was no soul in her eyes, just a dark pit of nothingness. You should be. Lila's smile, full of knife-sharp intent and nightmarish glee, was what broke Queen Revenge. She screamed. Her outpour of emotion, a torrent of fear and horror and agitation, broke the hold of the Akuma over her, shattering Hawk Moth's control. Chloe fell through the air in a jumble of limbs. She was crying as she clumsily climbed to her feet, tripping twice in the process. I'm telling Daddy on you, she howled at Lila before running away. Lila raised an eyebrow. He's not going to be able to do anything to me, she yelled after Chloe. Lila gasped as Chat Noir swung out of nowhere and kicked away the brainwashed civilians that were holding her captive. Ladybug, Chat Noir called, turning back to the heroine who was still standing, shell-shocked, at where they were watching the debacle go down. Your miraculous cure. Oh! All right. Ladybug fumbled for her yo-yo. Miraculous Ladybug. And, just like that, the entire city was fixed. Objects unbroken, people went back to where they were, confused but unharmed. Ladybug landed on the street next to Chat Noir. She coughed, clearing her throat. Lila, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine, Lila said. She pushed Chat Noir away from her and turned to go. Wait, Ladybug cried. No, I don't want you taking me home. Goodbye, heroes of Paris. Thanks for the help. With that, Lila walked off. She only made it a couple of steps away when she heard Chat Noir say something that surprised her. Lila, he said earnestly. What you did was amazing. You're an amazing person, Lila. Lila turned to him and looked him up and down. Then, she gave Chat Noir a small smile, a smile that was sweet and kind and motherly, which made Chat Noir blush, but that smile only lasted a moment before Lila's expression went back to her default neutrality. Lila continued her way home. I'm home, I said to myself as I entered my room and collapsed on my bed. Finally. I took out my phone and placed an order for home delivery pizza. It'll take half an hour to arrive, giving me plenty of time for a 10-minute nap to sleep off all the crap that happened today. Thinking about it now, I should probably see how much money is left on the card. Since I used to for the train and for the pizza I sat up looking over my bed to see a laptop. I picked it up and opened it. Lucky Lila had left her password on a notepad and the password to her mother's card. It seems like Lila used this card a lot. Opening the laptop and getting online to open the bank account, I was surprised to see how much is on it. Well, I am comfortable with this amount. With a nod, I closed the site, and the laptop placing back where I got it from I fell back onto the bed. I closed my eyes as I laughed to myself. I can't wait for school tomorrow. Everyone at school will know who they'll be messing with, and I'll be an outcast in no time. The only problem is, Adrian seemed to have inexplicably taken a liking to me. I have to make him lose that interest. Or, I could take advantage of that interest and get close enough to his father to be able to steal the butterfly miraculous. There's also Marinette now, and she wouldn't be able to leave me alone after what happened today. She must be curious about me. This was the first time she ever saw another person force an akumatized victim to break Hawk Moth's control. I smiled insidiously to myself. I should mess with her. I wonder how quickly I can make Marinette lose all her friends. I chuckled darkly to myself before finally falling asleep, exhausted. Gabriel Agresti was a man of few words, and he had absolutely none to describe what that Lila girl had managed to do today. How was it possible that a mere child could break his control over his own minion Akuma? It was impossible and incredible. That girl held some power in her hands. She showed no fear for her situation at all. That girl could destroy this world with her speech alone. How had managed to better the magic of a miraculous without even trying? Gabriel was scared. He must keep a close eye on that girl. And he could use her. Yes, imagine Lila Rossi as his own personal sidekick. She'll be the perfect companion to his plans. But how would he get Lila Rossi on his side? Gabriel looked out the window. Adrian was in Lila's class, wasn't he? No girl had been able to resist his son before. He'll use Adrian to lure Lila. Perfect. Now, Gabriel just had to talk to Adrian and set his plan in motion. Marinette has had a bad feeling since this morning. And not just because she was late. A nil sensation followed her to school. Something was off, and Marinette didn't know what. Lila Rossi hadn't presented herself as anyone particularly special at first view, just almost desperate in her desire to keep to herself. Marinette had never seen anyone leave the classroom that fast. But after seeing Lila scare her so badly that Chloe was forced to reject her Akuma. Marinette needed to tell Master Fu about this. In his massage parlor, Master and student kneeling across from each other, Master Fu hummed as Marinette recounted the events. "It's best if we keep an eye on this girl," Master Fu said. "She sounds dangerous." "Dangerous?" Marinette said. "She could help us fight Hawk Moth. Her power is incredible. And it's all without a miraculous." "She could help us," Master Fu agreed. "And she can also use her charm to control others through fear." "You're right. It seems that we have a Hawk Moth without a miraculous, right in your class. And you said she was physically violent with the influenced civilians? She might not stop there. She might use her words and her fists to get what she wants." Marinette gasped. "Lila wouldn't hurt people," she protested. "Would she?" Master Fu sighed. "I don't know," he confessed. "But it's best not to take chances with a girl like that. Your duty is to talk to Lila, be her friend. If not, we might end up with a problem bigger than Hawk Moth." Marinette's eyes went wide with fear. This wasn't good. This wasn't good at all.